Hi guys. Now this is the fourth time I'm recording this video because of technical difficulties. So let's hope this one takes. Now I was really struggling to figure out what lesson one should be about. I mean, of course, what is wine? Duh. But after that, like I was thinking, what should we start with? So I figured by the end of this video, you need to be able to say what wine is, the wine we're talking about. You need to also be able to understand the wine grape. And you also need to be able to understand the difference between red, white, and rosé wine. Now, before we jump into that, just a bit of background on myself so that you know whether you should be trusting my own information. First and foremost, I am a wine enthusiast. Adero is my name. Most people call me Joy. And aside from that, I'm also a WSET Level 2 awardee. I actually wore my pin, if you can see here, for you guys, because you're special and I want to impress you. But no, seriously, how did I get into the WSET? In my quest and love for wine, was wandering the halls of a wine festival, and the HCC-EA, Hospitality and Competence Center, East Africa, had a stand there, and they were like, hey, if you love wine, we have this course. And I was surprised because I didn't know they were offering it in Kenya. They were just a few months old, because prior to that, the closest place that you could get that course was either you had to travel to South Africa or Dubai. Those were the closest places, unless now you wanted to maybe go to France or Italy, but South Africa or Dubai. Those were your two options. So I was super excited. I enrolled, and that is how I came to do WSET. Of course, while I was there, I met my lovely teacher, Wanjiro. She goes by Wine Njiro, get it, on Instagram, so you guys can go and follow her as well. And ever since, I've met lots of wonderful people in the wine world, some of whom have become my friends and associates. So it's been great. Aside from that, I also did a little bit of work with a wine importer, wholesale, and retailer, which is also a great experience. So I think you can kind of trust me a little bit to guide you, right? I hope so. But enough about me. Let's jump into it. So first things first, what is wine? Wine is an alcoholic beverage made out of grapes and yeast. Those are the only two things permitted to make wine, at least the wine we're talking about. Now, before you go further, I'm sure you can be like, oh, but I've heard that they can make wine from, yes, I know that. You don't need to tell me. I have this book, okay? And it has recipes where you can make wine from literally anything. Look, carrots, coffee wine, you name it, they make it. So that's not the kind of wine we're talking about. We're talking about the wine that you can go to the supermarket and buy in a bottle and take home, that is made from grapes, okay? So basically, you take grapes, you crush them, you add yeast, you leave them alone for some days, some weeks, you will have wine. Of course, there's extra steps involved, like filtration, maturation, and everything, but that basic step of adding yeast to grape juice makes wine. At the most base level, that's it. Now, do they just take any grape and then, the table grapes and make wine? No, absolutely not. The wine grape is different. Now, there's the regular grapes that you buy, the seedless table grapes that you put in your salad, your fruit salad, in your lunchbox. Those are not wine grapes. The wine grape differs from that grape in 3 significant ways. 1, it's smaller. 2, it tends to have thicker skin. 3, it has seeds, it's not seedless. And then it also tends to be less concentrated in sugar compared to that table grape, right? So That's the difference. Now, like we said, it's just grapes and yeast. They don't add oranges, they don't add strawberries, cherries, rose petals, none of that. So when you smell a wine and you can smell hints of rose petals, or orange peel, or blackberry, that's just the nature of the grape and the action of the yeast on that grape that brings out those aromas. Yeah, no other fruits have been added to. So never ever say, oh, this wine smells like strawberries, they must have added some strawberries. No, they have not. Okay. They say that the grape is the only fruit that can smell and taste like another fruit. So wine. So just like you have different apples, right? You have Granny Smith, Pink Lady, Macintosh, Red Delicious, all those different kinds of apples, yeah? It's the same way you have different types of grapes. And those types are called varietals. So when you hear someone saying, what varietal is this? They mean, what type of grape is this? It could be Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio, and so many more. So just if you were to bake an apple pie, let's say, you wouldn't pick Macintosh apples to bake that pie because those are not the apples suited for pie making. You'd pick a Granny Smith. Just the same way is the way a winemaker hoping to make one variety of wine, like Sauvignon Blanc, would not be growing or buying Cabernet Sauvignon grapes because that doesn't suit their purpose, right? So think of it that way. Yes, at the end of the day, they're all apples. At the end of the day, they're all grapes, but which grape best suits my needs? So we'll get more into the types of grapes when we're talking about different varieties of grapes. But suffice it to say, Cabernet Sauvignon will never be Sauvignon Blanc. Those are two different types of grapes, right? Someone asked if a grape variety can make different wines. Yes and no. No, in the way I've just explained, like one grape variety cannot be used to make another grape variety type of wine. But when it comes to types of wine, in which case there are 3 types of wine, I'll explain in a minute, then yes, that can happen. So let's just talk about the 3 types of wine really quickly. There's still wines, which is the regular kawaida wine we talk about. There's sparkling wine, and then there you have your Prosecco, your Champagne, and just general sparkling wine, and others. And then there's fortified wine. And then falls sherry, port. So this is an example of a still wine, just regular, I don't know, might need a shadow. So that's a still wine. You have sparkling wine, like that, which usually has this foil and a cage underneath. This is a champagne. And then we have fortified wines, which are fortified with spirit. So this is an example of a fortified wine, and this is a port. Okay, that's a port. So that's a type of fortified wine. So those are 3 different types of wine. Okay, now, so you can use different grapes to achieve all these different kinds of wine, depending on what you want to do. So now let's get into the meat of this video, which is the difference between red, white, and rosé. Now, I'm going to try, technology is not my strong suit, so please bear with, but I'm going to try at some point, it's either going to be right now or at the end of the video, to put up 2 pictures that I bought black grapes, and then I bought the white grapes, and I cut them, and I skinned them. And when you look at those 2 pictures, I'll try and put them side by side, but if not, you can just compare them. You can see that in the black grape, on the black grape plate, we have separated the skin. You can see that the pulp of the fruit is green. it does not hold any color. But where the skin is, around the skins, some red has bled on the plate. And then you can see the cross section of the grape. You can, if you squint, see the seed inside. Now that is a wine grape. But I was like, let's just learn everything at once. So for the white, I chose a table grape so that you can see the differences of everything. You'll notice in the table grape, in the cross section of the grape, there's no seed. You'll also notice that, and this is true for all white grapes, the grape peels, there's no color on them. There's no color bleeding around the plate. Around them is the plate is just as white as it can be. So that shows you that they don't hold color. But the red skins had red bleeding out because the color is in the skins. The pulp of the grape is green. So if, say, you wanted to make white wine, but you only had black grapes, it is still very possible. Just discard the skin. Squeeze that juice, get rid of those skins as fast as you can, and the juice you're left with will be clear. You will ferment it. It'll come out white wine, I promise you, okay? So what they do to make red wine is that they crush the grape and then they let the skins sit like a tea bag. Just sit in it, bleed into the juice, macerate, marinate, just stain the juice with the skin colors. And that's what, literally like a tea bag. If you put a tea bag for 3 seconds or 30 minutes, the color will be different. It's the same way with wine. With the white wine, because the skins don't even contribute to the color, they squeeze, get rid of the skins because they're not helping us, and just ferment that. So you can make white wine 2 ways: by getting white grapes, squeezing and fermenting the juice, or getting black grapes, squeezing, getting rid of the skins immediately. That's the important bit, and then ferment. So you can get white wine from red grapes, but you cannot ever get red wine from white grapes, okay? And then rosé is the same principle as the red wine, but remember the tea bag trick? Instead of them letting the tea bag, which is the skins, sit for a long amount of time, they just let it sit for a few hours, maybe 12, 36 hours, just to stain the juice a little bit, and then get rid of the skins, and it remains pink. Doesn't make it all the way to a full red. For a full red, they can go up to 2 weeks and beyond, so that it's nice and red. So that's how they do it. Now, is it possible to make rosé by just getting red wine, white wine, mixing the two? Yes. That is also a way of making rosé. It's not the common way, it's not the typical way, and it's usually reserved for what we'd call lower budget wines, but the typical way is the tea bag method. Tea bag means the skins, steep the skins only a little bit until they stain the juice, and then get rid of them. Don't believe me? Let me show you. So I have this wine here. It's made from Cabernet Sauvignon variety grape, and it's made in it's red. You can see it's a red opaque bottle, and it says there Cabernet Sauvignon, right? It's Casillero del Diablo Cabernet Sauvignon, red wine. Fantastic. But I also have this very interestingly named wine. So cute. They call it the white cab. It's a white cab. And as you can see, it literally is, let me put a background so that you can see, it literally is white. It's a white wine made out of Cabernet Sauvignon grapes. Made out of black grapes. You can see the Cabernet Sauvignon. So, how on earth did the same black grapes that made this red wine make this white wine? Easy. This one, the skins were soaked in that juice and bled and colored the wine. And in this one, the winemaker squeezed those grapes, got rid of those skins real quick, and ended up with a perfectly white wine. So it's possible. And as for rosé, I have Chateau Cavalier here, and as you can see, pink. So how did they get this? They just let the skins bleed a little bit and then discarded them before it completely colored the wine. So now you know the difference between red, white, and rosé. I hope you've understood. In case you've not understood anything, guys, just drop a question down in the comments. I'll read them and I'll respond. Forgive me for any technical difficulties. It's my first video. We will have a few more, but it's a journey and I'm happy that you're taking it with me. If you have any other questions that you'd like me to answer, just let me know. But thanks for watching the video so far. And if I could trouble you to like it, maybe click on the subscription and notification and leave a comment, it would be great. Okay? Thanks so much for watching and see you next time. Bye, guys.